All right, what's going on, guys? Simple Sports back again, as promised. 5 episodes this week. Going to make it happen. However, I got to do it. It's super late tonight, so this probably won't be up until first thing in the morning, but whatever. You'll get 5 this week. And like I said, I'm going to try to make that the norm now that I have a little bit more free time. But let's get right into it. So I wanted to talk some NFL stuff, kind of break away from the NBA. Obviously, we got the draft and things like that coming up. Free agency's been going on. A couple of trades have gone down. And then we got the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. And I just want to talk about one team that I noticed was awfully quiet in the offseason thus far. Obviously, my Titans have been fairly busy. Got a new head coach, new running back, new corner. Like, they've been pretty busy. And I have to say, I've been pretty happy with what they've done. Now, we've seen former New England players and coaches not work out so well in other places other than New England. But fingers crossed, obviously, with it, especially being my team, my favorite team. Obviously, I hope it works out for the best. It was certainly a need that they needed to address at corner and at running back, because with them letting go of DeMarco Murray, they needed another running back, and specifically they needed someone who wasn't a carbon copy of Derrick Henry, although smaller, but they have the same style. They're north and south runners. DeMarco Murray is a little better out of the backfield catching the ball, and he's a little more elusive than Derrick Henry, but by and large, they're the same guy as far as their running style. So that's sort of, as they call it, smash and dash with him and Lewis going into next year is going to be nice. Who knows if they pick up another guy maybe during the offseason or draft a guy. I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out. But they definitely needed that. So it will be nice to have Derrick Henry getting the ball on first down, second down, and then possibly bringing in Lewis on third and short, to continue their pattern of running the ball and play action. But we'll see what Matt LaFleur is, the offensive coordinator. He's a little more crafty, a little more witty, so they might get some wrinkles in there like the Rams did last year. I'm pretty pumped about the team, I'm not going to lie. I think they have about a 2-year window right now, 2 to 3 year window before Mariota needs a huge contract. And a couple of guys' contract are up on the defensive and offensive side of the football. So much like the Rams, I'm not saying they're on the level with the Rams in terms of the moves they made or personnel or coaching or anything of that nature. I'm just saying in terms of their position as far as the franchise is, they're pretty similar in that both teams have sort of loaded up. If you look at them on paper, they seem pretty solid. So we'll see if they can take advantage of being, in the AFC, albeit and it's funny because they probably are now in the toughest division, which if you'd have gone back 2 years ago, they were in the weakest division in football. Last year, if it weren't for Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson not playing, would have been in the toughest division last year. But this year, with them coming back, assuming that they make it through the entire season, you got one of the best defenses in the league in Jacksonville. You got one of the best quarterbacks potentially in Andrew Luck and Deshaun Watson. And then you have a young and upcoming team with I think a very good quarterback in Mariota. Some people are out on him. I think most people just simply don't pay attention to him. And that's fair. I mean, he plays for Tennessee. It's a small market. They haven't been good in 20 years, all of those things. So it's very easily overlooked, and I get that. But I do think he's a little underrated. I don't think he's an elite quarterback with the likes of, Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers and the guys like that. And maybe not even quite second tier with guys like Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and guys like that who are certainly capable of leading a team to a Super Bowl given the right situation. I think he could do the same thing. He's a little fragile, as we've seen over the recent years. He's been hurt a couple of times, but usually running the pocket. He seems to be filling out a little more. And listen, he is still young, okay? It's only his 4th year in the league this year. So he's still really, really young. So I still expect it to be another 2 years or so. I think this is the year that he makes a leap. I think a lot of people well, I won't say I think, a lot of people did believe that last year was going to be the year he took a step forward. I don't think that is the case. I think it's going to be this year. I think last year was just a little bit of a setback. The offense was pretty meh, as I've said a bunch of times. But anyway, I spent enough time talking about them. I want to get to the one team as I started this conversation. There's one team out there that really hasn't done much of anything. The Titans have made some moves. The Colts are loading up on picks, and they've overhauled a big portion of their roster. You look at the Eagles making moves, the Rams making moves. Like, everyone's making moves or positioning themselves in the draft to make some big acquisitions, except for one team, and that's America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm going on record right now. It is 11:30 p.m. East Coast time on April the 5th, 2018. Prior to the draft, prior to the season, prior to anything happening for next year, the Dallas Cowboys will not make the playoffs next year. In fact, I'm going to give you a couple of things. One, I don't think they go any better as far as record than they did this previous year, 9-7. I think they might go 9-7 again, maybe 8-8. But I don't see them going any higher than that. I also want to say, again, I don't think they're making the playoffs. Philly's too good. It's hard for me to believe that the Giants are going to win 1 or 2 games again next year. I just don't see that happening. Do I think they're an elite team? No. But are they a 500 team at least next year? I think that is without question. I don't know what happened this year, but I don't see that happening 2 years in a row. Eli is too good for that to happen. There was a lot of circumstances that led to that, and I get that. And I'm not saying that Eli is this superior all-time great talent, but he is certainly better than 2-14 or 3-13, whatever their record was last year. Certainly better than that. I expect Odell to be back in the Giants uniform this year or next year. I don't foresee them trading him. I don't know how you trade a talent of that magnitude. There's certainly some wrinkles that need to be ironed out, but I don't think they're going to trade him. So I fully expect them to be competitive next year. Like I said, maybe a 500 team. They might squeak into the playoffs, but I doubt it. But they're not going to be the rollover team that they were last year. And then obviously you got the defending champion Eagles. They're going to be what they are. They're probably going to win the division. So the Cowboys are going to have one of 2 available spots up for grabs. And if you start looking at these divisions, you know, they're not going to win their own division. And so you got to look at the other divisions and see who is it that could make it out as a good team and take one of those other wild card spots. And, I mean, it's very possible you get the Eagles and Giants out of the NFC East, and then, you know, someone else, maybe the Panthers, maybe the Saints, you know, whoever it is takes that other spot. I just don't think there's enough spots for Dallas to take one. I don't think that they're a bad football team. I want to be clear, but I just don't think, I think the NFC is just too good, and they're not at the top of that conference. I think they're maybe team 8 or 9, but they're not one of the top 6, and that's where they need to be, obviously, in order to make the playoffs. And the problem is they didn't make any moves. They signed Coney Ely today, but that's not, you know, that's not going to change their franchise. It certainly helps them for sure, but it's not a franchise changer, right? They obviously have a great running back. They have a solid offensive line, although I'm a little doubtful in them going into next year. We saw them sort of fall off last year, and we've seen running backs be productive for them in the past, but, you know, outside of their stars, we've seen Darren McFadden be productive. We saw even Alfred Moore last year be somewhat productive in spots, but I don't think, I mean, again, they haven't made any changes. So either they're really confident that last year was just a one-off, or there's just simply not anything out there for them. And I think it's the latter. I mean, I don't, like, what have they done and what can they do from this point forward? All the big names have been taken off the board. They still don't have a top wide receiver or a competent wide receiver. Dez Bryant is what he is. He's a deep he's a deep threat as far as he can still win the jump balls and things like that, but he's not going to get anything intermediate. His hands are questionable at best. He drops a lot of balls, and he doesn't run great routes. He's fairly predictable. He's going to slant across the middle, or like I said, maybe a deep in, square in, or something like that, or maybe a flag route, corner, jump ball, back shoulder. But there's not much outside of that. There's not much variety there. And so you can put one guy on him and bracket Cole Beasley, and where are they going to go with the football? Terrence Williams is a solid number 2 receiver, but he's a number 2 receiver. He's not the guy that needs to be the front man for your receiving core. And they just let Bryce Butler go, so there goes that option. And so you're stuck with Dez Bryant and Cole Beasley and Jason Witten. And they had the one tight end, I forget his name, I think it's Rico Gathers, that showed some promise in the preseason last year, but that was it. He's been MIA since then. I don't know what the story is on him. Defensively, they are awful, and they did nothing to get better as of yet. They do have a solid pass rusher in DeMarcus Lawrence, but that's it. Sean Lee is great, but he's great when he's on the field, and that's the question. How often is he going to be on the field? It's like 60-70% of the year he's going to be playing, if that. Sometimes it's probably 50-50. So it's not looking good for them. It's not looking good for Cowboys fans. And my other thing is, people are going to start talking about Dak Prescott soon. He's going into year 3. This is the year that I think he has to really make some strides in the right direction, because the rookie year, I give him that. It was awesome to watch. But the problem is, when you get a rookie like that, you never know what you're going to get. And that first year, a lot of times, can be an anomaly. Take RG3, for example, Tim Tebow, and a lot of these guys who really, really flashed in their first year and just sort of disappeared from that point forward. And although Dak Prescott didn't disappear last year, he certainly didn't impress. At least I wasn't impressed. Now, I'm impressed with him in terms of his personality and the way, like, he was probably the most mature and reliable Dallas Cowboy of all, from players to staff, of last year. Jerry Jones was going all off the hinges. Players are not performing up to standard. And so it's very, this year, again, that's why I think this year will be the year that he will sort of need to prove what he is, because their team wasn't that great last year, and that's their fault. I don't buy the injury excuse, okay? Look at Philly. They had injury at the most important position, quarterback, and they won the Super Bowl. So the injury excuse doesn't fly for me. Okay, I don't care that Zeke was hurt. I don't care that their left tackle was hurt. I don't care that whoever was hurt, Sean Lee. I don't care. Okay, that's why you build a team. Okay, and not a starting lineup. You have to build a team, and that's what they don't have. They have a couple of guys who are really good and a bunch of guys who are just average, and that's why when one guy goes out, they struggle. And a lot of times they struggled last year with all their guys. And part of that is the continuity and the chemistry, going in and out of the lineup, the distraction with the whole suspension thing. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? He's in the lineup. He's not in the lineup. And then again, they go into this year and thus far haven't made any moves. So I think Dak Prescott is on the hot seat. I think Jason Garrett is on the hot seat. More Jason Garrett than Dak Prescott. I think this year will determine whether or not Dak Prescott goes on the hot seat. I think right now he's fairly neutral. If he has a good year, I think all is well and the Cowboys keep rolling along. If he has a bad year or even an average year, I think people start to question, is he actually what he was in his rookie year, or was that an anomaly? Was that his outlier year, as you see for a lot of these quarterbacks? Cam Newton had the MVP year. We haven't seen it since, and we didn't see it before then. We saw it in spots, but we didn't see it consistently. Matt Ryan, same thing. We saw him be great in spots, and we didn't see it before or after that great year, the run to the Super Bowl, the MVP year. So we've seen guys have these sort of outlier seasons. Tom Brady is not the 50 touchdown, '07 Tom Brady. That's just not who he is. You can't judge him based on that. And I think the same goes with Dak Prescott. You can't judge him based on his rookie year and just assume that that is what he should bring. And I think that's both positive and negative, because you shouldn't expect that from him each year as well. It's not like he shouldn't go out next year and throw 30 touchdowns and 5 or 6 interceptions. That's just not fair expectations on him. And in addition to that, if he has a bad year or an off year, if you're comparing it to that rookie season, then it may always look that way, and he may be unfairly criticized for that. And so I think, I don't know. They've just been really stagnant this year. I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's no one wants to go there, or maybe they don't know what they're doing. I doubt that's the case, but they haven't made any moves. And, we're waiting to see what's going to happen in the draft. They have some needs that they need to get fixed. There's reports they might go linebacker, maybe get a running back later. Who knows? But I'm going on record now to say that they aren't making the playoffs next year. I think they have missed their opportunity already. In 2014, they missed their opportunity to win the Super Bowl, albeit, I thought that was a catch personally, just from a wide receiver standpoint. But it didn't bother me because the Cowboys lost. It kind of bothered me because the Packers won, so I was really torn about that one. But they missed their window in 2014. They missed their window in 2016, or I guess 2017 technically, in the playoffs, after they had the miracle, the rookie season of Dak, one of the best rookie seasons for a quarterback in NFL history, and they missed their opportunity that year to go to the Super Bowl. And then, like I said, I don't think they're a bad team. I just think their division is too good. And it's not even the division is so good. I think just the one team, the Eagles, are so good, and there's such a gap between them and anyone else in their division that they are essentially fighting for 2 spots in the playoffs. And their wild card spots. And even that is not great, because then you have to go on the road in the playoffs. And you have a young team, you don't exactly want to do that. So it's not looking good, at least in my eyes, for the Dallas Cowboys. So I'm sorry to all you Cowboys fans, to America's team and its supporters, but it's not looking good from where I'm sitting. I think Dak Prescott has another similar year to the previous one. I think Zeke being back will certainly help, but I don't think there's enough on this team for them to really make any noise this year, and that's just the way I see it. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to get into some more specific NFL stuff, especially as we get closer to the draft. It was just something that I thought about today while sitting at work. The one team that hasn't really made any moves, that really needs to make some moves, considering their roster and the fact that they actually have, listen, say what you want about Dak Prescott, whether you think he's going to be great, you think he's going to be average, or you think he's not what he appears to be. Wherever you land on that spectrum, what you do know is he's capable of winning games. We've already seen that, okay? And that's not an anomaly. That is not an illusion, right? He's capable of keeping the train on the tracks and getting you to wins. And so what that means to me, and I think it's similar to Mariota in that I don't think he's this all-time great quarterback, but he's capable of winning games. And in spots we saw in the Jacksonville game at the end of the year last year, he made the run. Like when it's time to put the big boy pants on and make a play or two, he can do so. He did it again in Kansas City towards the end of the game. It's 3rd down and 3rd down and 2, and they run the ball. And if you don't get the first down, you punt the ball back to Kansas City with a minute and a half left, and they actually have a chance to go down the field. Mariota runs in there and throws a block on a defensive end and springs Derrick Henry for a long run. Ball game over. He didn't make some spectacular, flashy play. He just made the play that was necessary for them to win the game. And I think Dak Prescott is similar in that manner, where he's not this spectacular quarterback, but he's capable of winning you games, and I think that's what they need. The problem is the team around him is not very good, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. They're porous on the defensive side of the ball, and they need some help. Their best player on defense, in Sean Lee, is constantly hurt. DeMarcus Lawrence is the only pass rusher that they have, so he's a lot of times rendered ineffective because that's all you got. So they certainly need to make some moves. Now, again, I'm no analyst, I'm no expert, but from what I see, from where I'm standing, it doesn't look great for them for next year. So that's all I want to talk about. Like I said, we'll get into some more specific stuff as we get closer to the NFL draft, and maybe as some other news comes out. But that's all I want to talk about for today. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.